Hi, we're back with Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous builds for unfair difficulty, and today we're going to be revisiting my Trickster Mythic Path build. If you are new to the series and don't know how we do our builds, they are all made for unfair difficulty and none of them exploit bugs, so they should all remain viable despite any bug fixes or patches made to the game. It's also worth mentioning that all my builds are tested from early to late levels. They are not made just for the sake of YouTube videos. I do them firstly for my own unfair playthroughs, and it's very important to me that they are actually effective at every level in the game, so I can actually get through with my playthroughs and not just remain the helm of theory crafting. Because this is a turn-based system, but the game is real time with pause, sometimes builds don't go as I'd expect them, and that's why I think the testing is important, so I can both bring you the best builds and actually be able to beat the game on unfair difficulty, which is my main goal. With all that out of the way, let's get to our builds. For this updated Trickster Mythic Path build, there are quite a few changes I made from the last one. I changed the class from Blood Rager to Skald. I do think the Skald is going to be a little better for us, because we do get some extra bonus feats, which are going to be very welcome since this is a very feat intensive build, and also because I now know better about the Trickster Mythic tricks, which I didn't know when I started my Blood Rager playthrough. So I think the Skald is going to be able to make better use of some of them, is going to get more out of them than the Blood Rager. Also, with the Skald we are able to share our rage bonuses, and I felt out throughout the entire playthrough that I had an attack so high that if it was a bit lower, which it is going to be with the Skald, it wouldn't be a problem. And being able to share your rage with your companions is great. Even if there are not that many companions in your party that can take the rage and go into combat without being to cast spells, it's not a big problem. Even if it's only 1 or 2 companions, it's still a great value to have the Inspire Rage. So we take Skald, the regular Skald. As a race human, this is a very feat intensive build and we get every extra feat we can. For background farmhand for the +1 to fortitude. And our stats are a bit weird here because of the arcane mythic trick. We want every score, if possible, at an odd number, and strength at an even number, because through level up we can increase it by 5, so we should end with a 25 strength in level 20, and it's important to have an odd number on every stat you can. For dexterity we need at least 15 to start for feat prerequisites, but if you want to change around a bit the others, you can, though don't get charisma too low as it's our casting stat. This build also has some important skill points, and they are athletics. You absolutely want athletics at a rank 20, so you need to increase athletics every level up, and knowledge arcana, you don't need to increase it every level up, though I do recommend it. The important part is that you are the highest knowledge arcana in your party. So for companions like Nenio, that has a high intelligence and high knowledge arcana, I recommend that for this main character build, if you take her along, don't increase her knowledge arcana. You absolutely want this to be your highest knowledge arcana in the party. It is going to be important for the build. Now for our feats, we're going to take 2 weapon fighting as our first feat. As our human bonus feat, we are going to take combat reflexes. None of those are too useful early game, but this is a very feat intensive build and we need to take everything we can. Now for our Skald bonus feat, we take Meta Magic, Heighten Spell. And for our first two spells, I like to start with Vanish and Grease. Vanish is very useful early game to increase your chances to hit, or even a companion's chance to hit. And Grease, even though our saving throws will not be the highest, enemies also don't have the highest saving throws early game, so you can cast Grease and have a decent chance to make some enemies fall prone during the first few areas. Now let's take a quick look at how this build performs during the early game. We have Leopard to tank here for us, and we'll just try and land some hits against Oscilla to see our damage and chances to hit. You can see here our damage. Our chances to hit actually are not low. In a 9 or lower we already hit Oscilla, and our damage is not bad, 2d8 plus 11. Here we actually rolled pretty low, but with our Vanish it's not the same as a True Strike, but it does help a lot in making us get some hit-ins during this early game where our attack is still fairly low. Our Rage of course can help us and some of our companions. Will not be useful for every build, but as you can see we can do some damage, though it's still not the strongest build early game, but can get some strong hits in. On level 2 we already get our first bonus feat from Skald and we take Double Slice. Level 3 as our feat we are going to take Weapon Focus Scimitar. And as a rage power we are going to take Lethal Stance. Because this doesn't give bonus to ranged attack rolls but does give bonus to thrown weapons attack rolls, I do advise that with this main character, if you have ranged characters, have them build around throwing weapons. You don't even need to make the character a 2-weapon fighting, just 1 weapon is enough just so you can get the bonus from your Skald song, as it's very useful. At level 5 we get another feat, we take Seize the Moment. At level 6 we get a choice of Rage Power for Beast Totem Lesser. At level 7 another feat, and this time we take Outflank. The feats we are taking so far are not the most useful at this point, but they will be very powerful once we start to get our improved critical feats. And because we'll have so many feats to take on later levels from the improved critical line, I really think it's better to take the Outflank, Seize the Moment and other feats this early, even though you don't get that much use out of them. As a bonus feat on the same level we get Dazzling Display. This is so we can take at level 9 Shatter Defenses. Now we can hit enemies much more easily if they are shaken. And at level 9 we also get a Rage Power and we take Beast Totem. Now let's take a look at how this build performs in combat. At level 10 we are character level 10 here, Mythic rank level 3. And we can see at this point our damage is not amazing, but sneak attack does help a lot, and when we get criticals they are not too weak. Though we take a long time at killing enemies, and we are not nearly as strong as the demon build, which I showcased in the same combat. Here in fact I don't even think we would be able to beat it without the help of our companions. The Colossus are already hitting us, and we did not kill enough, but we do have several attacks and a fairly decent chance to hit them. You can see here our chances, especially with concealment, are high, and our damage is not low, especially here I'm using Sense Vitals to increase our sneak attack damage, but this build does take a while to get going. It's not until you start to get the improved critical feats that this build really becomes strong. For level 11 we take improved critical for scimitars. At level 12 we get both a choice of Rage Power, which is going to be Beast Totem Greater, and also a choice of Extra Feat, which is going to be improved 2-weapon fighting. At level 13, you should wait to level to 13 until you have Mythic rank 4. Before that, don't level to 13, so this way you'll be able to get your improved criticals faster. So at level 13, you should wait until you are Mythic rank 4 here and take improved critical Scimitar. At level 15, we get improved critical Scimitar. We also get a choice of rage power, which is deadly accuracy. At level 17, we get another feat, improved critical, improved Scimitar. And also a extra feat from Skald for power attack. At level 18, we get our last rage power, and it's going to be lethal accuracy. At level 19, we get Meta Magic, completely normal spell. And at level 20, there is no choice. For our Mythic levels, we start at level 1, taking Instrument of Freedom. This allows us to buff our companion's attack for a short duration. We also get as a Mythic ability, Last Stand. This is a very powerful Mythic ability and is especially useful for melee characters, so I like to take it as soon as possible. At Mythic level 2, we take as a feat 2-weapon fighting Mythic to increase our attacks. At Mythic level 3, we get another choice of Mythic ability. Here it's bugged and showing the same, but here you should take, instead of Last Stand, Ever Ready. The Ever Ready Mythic ability is especially useful in the Trickster Mythic path, because you have a higher chance of criticals, and with Outflank and Seize the Moment being able to trigger attacks of opportunities on criticals, you should make much more use out of Ever Ready than other Mythic paths would. We also get our first Mythic trick, and it's going to be Athletics rank 1. This way we can break out of crowd control more easily. At Mythic rank 4, we get another Mythic feat. Here again it's showing the same, but instead of 2-weapon fighting, you should take Improved Critical Mythic Scimitar to increase the damage of our critical hits. You also here will take as a Mythic trick Perception rank 1 and as a improved Mythic trick Perception rank 2. Now you should be able to access the improved critical feat line that's only available after you get the Perception rank 2 Mythic trick. At Mythic level 5, we get another Mythic ability. This time it's going to be Mythic Charge. At this point you should already have Beast Totem Greater, and now our chargers are even more effective. We also take Knowledge Arcana rank 1. This way, items we identify are going to have a higher enchantment bonus. This means belts that give stats, this means weapons enchantment bonus, armors enchantment bonus, shields enchantment bonus, and all other sorts of magical items that are going to be made stronger because of our Knowledge Arcana rank 1. At Mythic rank 6, we take a extra feat and we take Greater 2-weapon fighting here. We also take as a Mythic trick Knowledge Ward rank 1 and as a improved Mythic trick Athletics rank 2. Now you should be even more effective at avoiding spells and crowd control using our athletics instead of our saving throws. At Mythic level 7, we get Leading Strike as a Mythic ability, Lore Religion rank 1 as a Mythic trick, and Athletics rank 3 as a Greater Mythic trick. Athletics rank 3 is very powerful because it increases our base attack bonus, giving us an increase to attack that stacks with any other sources we have. At Mythic rank 8, we get Power Attack Mythic as a Mythic feat, we get Lore Nature rank 1 as a Mythic trick, And as an improved mythic trick, we get Lore Religion 2 War Domain. What Lore Religion rank 2 does is give us access to a domain and its spells. Currently it seems to be bugged because it's not giving us access to the domain's ability and also not giving us access to the domain Zealot mythic ability. If this is fixed, I'm probably going to update this build as there are many options we would be able to use to improve this build by getting access to domain abilities. But currently you only get access to domain spells, but that is more than enough for us, because this domain is going to offer us Divine Power, which is at the highest level a +6 to your attack and a +6 to your damage. So we happily take Lore Religion rank 2 War Domain even though it's bugged currently. At Mythic level 9 we take Knowledge Word rank 2 as an improved mythic trick. Now this should allow us to critical hit more often because our 1s become 20s. As a mythic ability we take Unrelenting Assault for more damage. And now the last two mythic tricks don't really matter to me. If you want to choose something different, feel free. And as our final mythic level, the choices here don't really matter. If Lore Religion was not bugged, here we could take Lore Religion rank 3, and that could be very useful for us against the last boss, but as it is bugged I couldn't even pick Lore Religion rank 3 for some reason, so we take just Perception. And as our last mythic feat, we take Mythic Sneak Attacker for at least a bit more damage against the last boss. Our Skald spellbook is the same as a Bard's. It's not the strongest one, but certainly not weak. At first level, the best spells we have is Vanish and Expeditious Retreat. Grease is also useful, but only very early on the game, as our saving throws are not very high, our spell DCs actually. At level 2 we get Mirror Image, a very powerful defensive spell, especially early on the game, and also Sense Vitals, a spell that can increase our damage. At level 3 we get Displacement, yet another very powerful defensive spell early on, and also Haste, a very strong buff that's useful until late game. Good Hope can be also good, as you can, with a single cast, give heroism to your entire party. At level 4 we get Echolocation, which is great to bypass concealment, which many enemies have until the late game, and also greater invisibility, which is very important for this build actually. At level 5 we get Dispel Magic Greater, one of the best spells in the game. It's always nice to have more casts of Dispel Magic, and also Heroism Greater, a very strong buff to your party. And at level 6 we don't get anything too exciting, but Brilliant Inspiration is not bad. Our Trickster spellbook, in my opinion, is not very good. Even though it shares some spells with the Skald that are good, they come much later on in the game, and at the point we get those spells, they are no longer as relevant as they were when we got them as a Skald. So nothing useful on level 1, also nothing too useful on level 2, we have Mirror Image here as well, but at the point we get this in the game, a lot of enemies already have True Sight, so it's a lot less effective. At level 3 we get at least Glorious Beard, which you can use to buff your party's armor class. At level 4 we don't really get anything useful, though you can use the summons to distract some enemies. At level 5 Ring of Halberds could be a very strong spell if we build around it, but it seems to be bugged currently. It doesn't make an attack roll and it doesn't get critical hits as the description says it should do. and microscopic proportions is also useful and can be a very strong buff to your party members. At level 6 we don't get anything too exciting, but at level 7 we get Trick Fate, the most powerful spell we have. This is our main spell and something we want to be casting as much as possible, and even though we don't have anything too good on Mythic rank 6, we can use our completely normal spell meta magic, so our Trick Fate becomes also a 6th level spell. Now we have something we want to use on the level 6 spell list. Now we are going to take a look at how this build does in late game combat. You see, it's very powerful, though not very defensive, so we really need a tank in most fights to protect us. Here I don't think it will be necessary, even if the enemies do get close to killing us. If we get down to our last stand, we still should have enough time to finish the combat. You could see here, the enemy went down very quickly, because our damage is extremely high. Now this second one should also be easy for us to finish. Just 2 hits and it's also down. You can see our damage and chances to hit here. We have a 60 chance to hit without any buffs or party members close to us. So no outflank or any other buff one party member could give us. And I chose this combat because of this enemy in special. You can see our damage now is much lower, and even though we still take the enemy down quickly, it took a lot more work than the previous ones. And the reason for that is because this enemy is immune to critical hits. So even though we should be landing critical hits, he's immune to them. And this is probably this build's biggest weakness. Against the enemies immune to critical, we have a much harder time. And this is also the reason I chose a shorter combat to showcase this build. Because the last boss is something very hard to face with this build. Actually not that hard. But you have to know some important game mechanics to be able to face the last boss effectively with a Trickster. And I'm going to dedicate the last part of this video to talk about which are those mechanics and how you can make the Trickster effective against the last boss. A lot of people think she's immune to critical hits, but that's not even true. She's just incorporeal and there are a lot of ways to overcome her immunities, so we can take advantage of our Trick Fate and high critical hits to take down the last boss. The first important thing for us to face the last boss is having a ghost touch weapon. The one I recommend the most is Bane of Spirit Scythe. This scythe can be found through the phylactery of Stevanius the Rotten. It's a crusade event found on Act 3. The important part is being a ghost touched weapon, but a scythe is nice because it has a ×4 critical multiplier, which is made a ×5 when we are in our rage song. So this is the first important thing we are going to need to face the boss, and the second is someone able to cast Greater Dispel Magic, which this very same main character build can do, but having companions that can also cast Greater Dispel Magic is useful, so you can cast several at the first turn. Here on this print I basically did what I mentioned, casted Dispel Magic Greater on Arilu with every companion that had it, and you can see Soziel was able to dispel Ice Body from her, and this is the most important buff that we need to dispel for the criticals. Ice Body gives her protection from critical hits, so that's why we need it gone. Once this is gone, she is no longer immune to criticals from ghost touched weapons. That's why we need the scythe from Stevanius the Rotten. And you can see here I'm attacking with the scythe. She still has a fortification armor of 75%, So, using Trick Fate, considering her concealment and her fortification, we end up with a 12.5 chance of landing a critical hit. My critical hit on this screen is not very high, that's because I did not buff my characters properly before going in. If you actually buff your characters properly, have your Social use Destruction Domain to increase damage, and Divine Power from our build to increase your damage even further, you can easily increase this critical hit to over the 500s, close to the 600s probably. And this is not even all the benefits we get. By being able to critically hit, our companions can also trigger outflank and seize the moment to get more attacks of opportunity against her, which will be buffed by Ever Ready, having a higher chance to hit and doing more damage. Also notice her AC here is only a 97. That's because while trying to dispel Ice Body, we also dispelled bonuses to her AC like Sea Mantle, Shield, and Bark Skin are a few of the ones that increase her AC and you can dispel with Dispel Magic Greater. So, I really believe this is the most reliable way to beat this boss as a Trickster, because really this class is focused around criticals, and what you want to do is make her vulnerable to criticals so you can get your high damage criticals, your attacks of opportunity from outflank and seize the moment, and now the boss should be a lot easier. There are easier ways to beat the boss if you abuse some bugs, like the Genie kind stacking with the Elemental Barrage. You can get Genie kind on this class by taking the Use Magic Device Trick rank 3, but as I always try to play without abusing bugs, I'm not using this here. And I think this is the most reliable way without abusing bugs. Casting Dispel Magic Greater, using a Ghost Touched weapon, this way you can still do criticals, still hit for big damage, and at late game, fully buffed, we can get up to 7 attacks with a two-handed weapon, meaning at the end of the day we'll have a 60% chance to get at least one critical per turn against Arilu. So this should take her down in a lot less turns than if we just tried to brute force her with our two-handed weapons. So I hope this last section gave you a better idea of mechanics in the game overall, especially involving critical hits. As I see, a lot of people seem to be confused by Arilu's immunity and don't know how to overcome them. But this is it for the build video. I hope you liked. As always, if you have suggestions, leave them in the comments, I'd love to hear. And until the next video, I hope you have a good time.